Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Great pleasure to have you all back. So today we are greatly honored and privileged to have with us Dr. Onida, who is an associate professor in innovation and entrepreneurship at Mahidol University here in Thailand. And that I got chance to meet a few years back. She's one of our faculty in the PhD program here at Bangkok University, and our students have been always very impressed by her experience and her skills and expertise. And I think it's last year, and you will tell more about it, Dr. Onida. I remember that you run a hackathon in whatever context, and so I thought that you will, as having managed and run some hackathons, you will be the best person to share your experience with us. So I will not say much longer. Dr. Onida, feel free to add to this brief introduction, and we are all looking forward to learn from you today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Maria, and also thank you, Vincent, for the introductions. I'm very pleased to be here. Really delighted. So I'd like to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's actually good evening here in Thailand right now at 7 p.m. So yes, I'm Associate Professor Dr. Onida, and I'm a head of innovations and also a lecturer in innovation and entrepreneurship. So you know, just over the quick 5 minutes, and I'd like to do a quick introduction as well as to why I'm actually looking at this hackathon and a little bit of background. So I'm a Thai and Australian citizen. So over the past 30 years, I was in Australia, in Melbourne. And so prior to my current positions, I work as a senior lecturer and a director of master program in entrepreneurship and innovation at University of Tasmania in Australia. And prior to that, I was a postdoctoral researcher in entrepreneurship and innovation at the Australian Research Council Training Center in Biodevices. And actually, you can see, on the screen right here. I'm not sure if you can find me. It's just different. It's just me wearing eyeglasses right there. But they ran this PhD program in technology innovation, and one of the outcome that came out of the center is actually called Facet, which is the world first self-feeding hearing aid. With its core is actually allowing user to optimize listening preference, for the device linking to smartphone, tablets, and home computer. It also has a module of rechargeable battery as well. And the key behind this product is that they actually integrate what is called science and design, or design thinking. So science and engineering students were studying entrepreneurship and innovation as well. And as you can see right there, it's a digital health system that empowers people to self-manage their hearing experience. And Australia is actually first in the world in terms of developing cochlear hearing aids. So it's actually about advancing the innovations using design thinking. And during the time, I actually involved with a lot of hackathon. And as you can see in the photo right there, I was on the advisory board. And also we ran a hackathon in Tasmania called Innovative Tasmania, so or UHack, and we were running that in 3 consecutive years. And I also leading some of the workshops like in innovation entrepreneurship with some academic scholars. And other than that, of course, the key thing is about developing innovators and entrepreneurs. Always the key for them to actually come up with ideas to change the world. And so I was invited as a judge over the past recent years, more than 10 events as a judge. We are working with the Australian government as well to actually run some hackathon, also being a facilitator for some of the events like this part of the Australian governments, different parties, and the key questions was what innovation is possible for Tasmania. So I was facilitating the sessions. And in particular, in my area, I look at market driving innovation in particular. So I was interviewed by the Australian TV, Artica TV, in terms of how do we can actually develop more market driving or breakthrough innovation. So we're talking about those innovations that will drive the market rather than being driven by. So more breakthrough innovations in that case, so then we can actually set stage for future product development. And of course, the title here is why many Aussie companies don't like to innovate, but I think that's applied to other companies as well around the world. And I was also involved with I am involved still with the ISPIM, which is the International Society for Professional Innovation Management. And one of the research that I'm actually going to talk about today about hackathon has been accepted at the conference as well. So they are the most active innovation network around the globe, and amongst other scholars, so we involve with different activities in relation to innovation management, and also because where I am right now, it's a medical oriented university, so we have linkages to hospital as well. So based on my background in biomedical devices that we try to commercialize, so I run some biodesign innovation process, some case competition and hackathon around in biomedical devices as well. And also, we do some case club with the students. So students actually go out and compete. So I act as an advisor, bringing students to compete around the globe. And one of the competitions that we won just in 2023 is the IIBD International Case Competition in Hong Kong, where we have won that. And I believe some of the university around the world might have student case club as well, where they go out to compete. I'm also a consultant for the National Innovation Agency. So they actually function under the office of the Prime Minister. So, of course, the key thing is about developing innovators across Thailand. And as an Australian citizen, I also help the Australian ambassador to facilitate some of the activities at the embassy. So one of the topic was looking at equity in a workplace and how do we can actually innovate in that regard. So I have won Australian Alumni Innovation Award in 2023, and more recently, just like what Vincent mentioned earlier, that based on the experience, so I became the project manager for Hackathon last year, which is on AI and cybersecurity hackathon. Now, these are collaborations with the industry, so we got the industry funding, so it's an academic and industry collaboration. And later on, I will share my experience, using that as a case study, and also. So we're evolving around the area, and just most recently, I have won the Innovations Leadership Award as well, just early this year from Thailand Leadership Awards by the Asian Confederations of Business with the World Innovation Congress as its strategic partner and Startup Industry Group as a research partner. So I really hope that being here today, of course, I am delighted to be here, and I hope that we can actually, make it as collaborative, as possible, because knowledge is co-constructed to, social interaction using language and culturally organized activities, to actually facilitate proper human intellectual and psychological development and higher order thinking where one mind cannot possibly get to. So I think we have 50 participants here today around the globe. So I hope it will be a fruitful discussions that we can bring. Because when we're looking at new product development or innovation management, of course, it's about that breadth and diversity of knowledge or divergent thinking that can give rise to creativity, allowing linkages between what is already known and novel associations. So when we talk about the diversity of knowledge is the source of new product creativity, particularly market driving innovations that I mentioned earlier. So it's actually developing an innovation that would drive the market rather than being driven by. So as part of today session number 10, so learning objective, of course, will introduce you to the concept of hackathon, and I'm sure that many of you is already familiar with it, but we can actually further discuss about it in terms of the importance, the overview of the hackathon, followed by the case of AI and cybersecurity hackathon in terms of identifying the settings, key issues, and the lesson learned. And of course, we can actually throw some questions or discussions considering the implications and best practices as well. And of course, I'm also open for possible collaborations around the globe as well. So delighted to be here once again. And so introducing to hackathon now, without further ado, so the terms originally started in computing industry during late 1990s in MIT. Actually, I might throw it through the to the audience right here. The term hackathon. Anyone know how it actually derived it? Any thoughts right here? How the terms come about? Or do you actually run any hackathon? Anyone here at all? Right, very close right there. Yes, hacker
Hello.
and Mark. Yes, I think I hearing some background right here. Sorry, William. No, never. Okay. Jedi. Okay. If I Nushin, if I pronounce correctly. Yes. So it actually was derived at hack plus hackathon. So that was the term. And so traditionally, of course, it was very intensive in the computer programming, limited time events, typically 24 to 72 hours, in a time limit that they have to actually come up with solutions to solve real world problems. And but now it's actually has expanded into a broader fields like business, healthcare, education, social innovation, and many more. Now, when we think about the importance of hackathons, of why we're actually looking at it, of course, there's industry perspective, academic perspective, and other stakeholder perspective as well. But it's widely recognized because the ability to foster innovations, creativity, collaboration, and practical skill development as well. So when we're talking about encouraging innovations, it's about building the supportive environments to explore creative ideas where the normally in the company settings or in the university setting traditionally might not allow them to. And with the skill development, they can gain technical skills, entrepreneurial skills, teamwork, problem solving skills through real world experiential learning. And when we talk about accelerating product development, then they can actually expedite innovation process, rapidly innovating, validating ideas, identifying promising solutions, and so forth. And during the event, it's also allowing multi-stakeholders or diverse participants to network as well between students, professionals, mentors, industry representative, investor as well, thereby promoting career and business opportunities. And for companies, it could be in the area of talent identification as well, because allowing companies and or even universities to use hackathon as a recruitment platforms to identify talented individuals capable of working effectively under pressure and uncertainty. So in terms of overviews of the hackathon, the general stage, of course, go from pre-event planning. There are a lot of things go into a pre-event. Recent academic literatures emphasize the importance of this because you really need to look into defining clear objectives, facilitating effective team building, and in terms of preparations from getting participants to registers, and they will be forming the team, and then going through the implementation phase where they collaboratively design, code, or build working prototypes and solutions, and they could go through problem identification, definition, ideations, and conceptualization, going through rapid prototyping and then iterations and refinement. So as part of offering the solution, they must also do a presentation and evaluation as well, where teams present their solution to judges or stakeholders, involving pitches, demonstration, prototyping showcases, and so forth. So with the post-event follow-up is also important because they need to receive support for further development. And this could be done through incubation programs, mentoring, or funding opportunity as well. And these are key for considerations because follow-up meetings can lead to resource allocation for continued developments or integration of solution into organizational frameworks. So now when we talk about the common types of hackathons, it could be industry specific, solving industry problem, let's say at the broader level. It could be automotive industry or science and research, in which academics or research communities could be running that, or educational hackathons where it incorporates hackathons into extracurricular, for instance, for students to actually solve problems. And lastly, we're looking at corporate hackathons, and of course, the industry or large companies organize internal hackathons within their employees, for instance, to stimulate innovations and generate creative solutions to business challenges. So this is just the introductions to hackathon in general. And now, when we talk about the case that I mentioned earlier, and this is actually based on the paper that I'm been developing that have been accepted at the International Society for Professional Innovation Management, and I'd like to touch on that, given it's important. And so this paper actually looking at the reflection of the work that I've done as a project manager that I mentioned, and the hackathon looking at AI and cybersecurity, and of course they try to develop future innovators. And these have been done through academic and industry collaboration. Now, in terms of the impetus for the research, because as AI and cybersecurity challenges grow, and we're talking about complexities, AI's become a buzzword right now. Everyone's using it even right now. We're using AI to actually transcribe what we're talking here. And so it's growing in complexities, but then it's coming into our daily life, and the interdisciplinary collaboration and innovative problem solving become increasingly critical. But if we're talking about, education, and particularly traditional lecture, it falls short, in terms of for allowing students to completely explore the multifacets or solving wicked problems that we're trying to solve these days. Whether it's about PM 2.5 or any others issues. So, and of course, in this case, is in regard to the real world AI and cybersecurity scenario. So when we think about problem-based learning, then it's actually when we're looking at hackathon competition, then it has been adopted by several disciplines as a model to use as a student-centered pedagogy, looking at the complex, open-ended real-world problems that can be solved. But of course, however, there's been limited research on this area. And when we're talking about experiential learning, it's a learning process where knowledge is gained through direct experience, reflection, active experimentation. So particularly when it's being done with academic and industry collaboration. So it's very important to work together with industry and as an academic to develop future innovators in this ever-changing AI and cybersecurity. Now, going into details a little bit more in terms of the research context, as you can see right here, so it was the first time that MUIC or Mahidol University International College as myself, I'm running it with the company is called Sinclair. They actually cybersecurity company, which is one of the top companies in Thailand that develop cybersecurity. They have several certificates. On that ground. And the theme was simplifying cybersecurity processes through AI. So it can be considered a unique case because it involves multi-stakeholders. And we're not just having industry as an industry partners sponsoring us, but it's a direct integration. So we're looking at, of course, me from myself from the MUIC Business Administration Division, working with Sinclair, and also I gather other as well, because our college actually liberal arts, so we have computer engineering, creative tech, and science students, etc. So I work in collaborations with MUIC Computer Engineering, also Student Case Club that I mentioned earlier, where I have brought them to compete with some of the competitions, and also Mahidol Student Startup Club, which is at the broader Mahidol University. They actually speak Thai at that program, but I also linked up with them, to actually have students working with us. Some actually work as a volunteer as well. And also with Mahidol INT, which is the Institute for Technology and Innovation Management. And they have the site which called Macharis, and they have this 3D printing facilities to support student activity as well. And lastly, we also engage with Mahidol Club Entre AI-based camp, which is actually a new club. They actually just recently emerged from the AI generation. Now, in terms of unique features, now what's unique about this case is because we're looking at industry case briefing. So we work with industry side by side to develop the case. We integrate design thinking, innovation, entrepreneurship education, and training with business modeling. So participants that we selected actually were learning about business modeling, learning about pitch deck, and it's a multi-site execution. So it's not just single venue. So the participants actually get to involve with experiential learning with companies tours, innovation hub, and also expert-led workshop, and at the university pitching stage as well. And they also involve with the structured academic and industry mentorship. Now, it was running in 2024, just last year, as I mentioned in August, and we were able to select 8 multidisciplinary teams from over 30 registered team across universities and institutions. And we were able to attract some of the university from Hong Kong and from some others apart from Thailand as well. And so the key thing was the solution we're looking at was AI-driven or human-centered cybersecurity solution, not just the technical, cybersecurity solutions that we often face with the cybersecurity hackathon to address cybersecurity workflows, repetitive tasks, and threat detection. So just a little bit about the background right here. And if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hands or put in a chat line. I would like it to be as interactive as possible. If I'm going too fast, please let me know as well. Now, in terms of other settings, this is actually the poster that we have, and so I was involved from the very beginning. And as you can see right here, the time frame. Despite the pre-activities that I mentioned earlier in terms of the overview of the hackathon, so the registration period starts in July, and then we have the qualifying team announcement, and following by the company visits and case briefing, and then after that, then they actually the participants would involve in some workshops, which is design thinking, business modeling at the INT that I mentioned earlier, and also lastly, then they do some pitching competitions at the university um, stage. Now, in terms of eligibility, as you can see right here, they must be, involving with a team must consist of 3 to 5 members, so anyone can apply, no age limit, and but it must be multidisciplinary, meaning that at least from 2 different disciplines, and with the interest, background, and they might have some ideas, and they must submit a video, introducing that team's member and also the ideas that they might have about AI development, such as generative AI and so forth. And of course, the event is being conducted in English. And as you can see, the price right here. So we work out, the price with the industry. This is funded by the industry. So there's an internship opportunity as well, as you can see. So in terms of setting up the competition objective, the themes, eligibility. So we work through that with the team that I mentioned earlier, multidisciplinary. And in terms of competition criteria, it's very important to work on this. So we actually set a clear understanding. So in terms of presentation style, teamwork, of course, in terms of organization, the flow of the information, how they present, how well they understand what they're talking about, visual appearance, with the creativity and tools that they use during the presentation. And then innovative solutions, and so the industry actually worked with us to screen, who would be a potential winners in a sense until the last minute, having the judges on site. Now, in terms of innovative solution, we look at effectiveness. We also look at innovativeness, how new in terms of potential and impact, usability, ease of integration, scalability in terms of its potential for large volumes, and business modeling, which is very common when we're looking at the feasibility, desirability, and viability. Now, I got one comment right here from Rudolph. Hackatons are very common in India to generate ideas on IT, but not so common for social problems or medical challenges. Right. The hackathon also act as a recruitment tool for refresher, so college participate actively IT related. Right, very interesting right here. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, absolutely. And often it's like, it's kind of spin off from the computer engineering, the IT side, and therefore we try to integrate this into other discipline as well, because we can see the impact that we can create. So back to the paper right here. So in terms of methodology, of course, as I mentioned, is a reflective case approach along with ethnography methodology, and also analyzing personal evaluative competence, and also reflective commentaries, experience, and interactions. So based on this, I actually look into what is called a problem-based learning working model. So I try to map what happened with hackathon and how this overlay with problem-based learning working model. And as you can see right here, from the very beginning, the Sinclair, so we work together to with the industry to identify the case. I also work with the students who actually have experience writing case from student case club. So we are trying to shape, what are the possible problem statements that would actually get our participants to start thinking about what to solve before they actually go on into, the mentorship, before they're actually getting into interview sessions with, with the interviewees. Now, when we're looking at the problem statement, as you can see right here, we're looking at security operations analyst and also some of the experienced incident responder as well. And as they move through, so a participant needs to explore, define facts and problems, search and research, what are the unknowns and specify that, and then finally developing the solutions. Yes, Maria, with the hands up. Sorry, you on mute there, Maria, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you please map the hackathon components and how they help in each stage here? Because you're demonstrating here what was the solution, but we are interested in the tool, in the hackathon itself. So we would like to understand, people can come to this result with a hackathon, or they can come to this result in any other way of brainstorming or sitting in a room and thinking alone, etc. So can you demonstrate through this example how the hackathon helped them do the job?
Sure. So, if I understand your questions correctly, so I mean, how this hackathon being run, right? From when you're looking at the industry-driven problem, so we work with the industry to come up with the case briefing to give to participants, right? So as you can see, these are problem statements, and then as the participant go through this stage, you can see they have to actually explore and define the problem. So they work with the team, right? And these are, as I mentioned, so we selected 8 teams, so that we can actually manage this. And the teams consist of about 4 or 5 participants. So overall, we have about 40. Then they have to go and define the problems. We run workshops alongside that as well. So then they were actually equipped with business modeling, design thinking workshops, pitch deck, and so forth. And during the time being mentored by the industry as well as being mentored by academics. So we try to help them defining the problems, right? Doing that search, then of course to be able to come up with potential solutions. Okay, and then understanding the criteria of developing business potential business model, then they try to exploit feasible, desirable, and viable solutions before they actually do that pitch. Now, as you can see right here, the key outcomes is the AI-powered cybersecurity innovation and business modeling. So it's not just the technical solutions we're talking about here. And the proof of concept they must submit into the company's hub, which is a private GitHub. So it could be a prototype, working model, with some coding, executable application, setups instruction, those technical stuff. And then also this opportunity for student internship as well for the winning team. And so I try to map this with the problem-based learning working model, of course. This might be applied to other setting as well. But what I see right here is actually how you can actually unpack, for the students to solve a particular problem through hackathon. And the next slide is actually looking at
Before you continue to the next slide, I want to summarize a minute. What I heard is that when we have a hackathon, it's partially structured and it's partly just a platform where you have academic knowledge and academics who can mediate that knowledge, where you have tools like Hackathon, where you have people who are experts in different areas that to do with a hackathon, and they can consult the people and help them, where you have, so it's structured and unstructured. It's a platform with rules. If I want to ask myself, what is a hackathon? It's a platform with rules where you have intense time. You have, the rules are, the output should be in some GitHub, or it should be with a pitch. So there are rules that go with the hackathon. There are all kinds of sandboxes or places or things that can help the people, tools that can help the people in their challenge. And the idea is that they can decide what to use, where to use, with a lot of flexibility. That's what I heard. I would be very thankful if you can speak about these aspects, so we generalize how we can use hackathons and let's speak about the specific problem of cybersecurity.
Yep. So, I mean, in this context, right, as you can see right here, I mean, if you're asking about the problem statements, right? So the problem statement, there are three problem statements here, is that, these are actually reflecting from the companies, but they, based on what they've been researching, is actually not just one companies from cybersecurity that will be facing this, but it could be other company as well. And therefore, a student will looking at, potential business modeling as part of the solution as well. But as you can see how they frame, like, in terms of they need help in terms of correlating huge volumes of alerts, improving detections capabilities, etc. And also, my apologies, there's a bit of a jumping up on the first and the second problems, but then there are actually three problem statements right there. And then the last one, it's about how the experienced incident responder cannot keep up with customer incidents. Now, when we frame this, as I mentioned, because we work with the industry from the beginning, and I think some of the questions you might have might be capturing, in these slides, because it's about lesson learned and also some of the implications for program managers and designers. So from the beginning, of course, going back to what you mentioned, Maria, is that yes, hackathon is a platform, and how you frame it, there's different type, whether it's industry, overall, or it's actually, education purpose, or it's from the research community, but or just the company doing it internally. But in this case, it's academic and industry working together. So sharing the lesson learned right here, of course, is very important to align from the beginning the industry and academic needs and the process within the internal process as well. I spent some time talking with industry, to explain as a educator that is actually part of giving back to the community, and also it's about developing future innovators, or in a sense that we are educator. So instead of them, let's say, hiring experts, or it could be a consultant, for instance, outside somewhere else, instead of using students to actually participate in such program. So aligning those expectations is important as well, that we're trying to develop future innovators here. And other things is about working collaboratively, and also looking at them, developing long-term partnership as well, so then we have a good understanding of their expectations. So the implication here, firstly, that I mentioned, is that when we're looking at developing hybrid models in terms of balancing research driven and also the business applications, considering knowledge transfer to ensure that solutions will meet the real world needs. And very important in terms of structured timeline, given like it was my first project right here, a lot of things when we actually running going into the pre activities, it took us about 2 months before the actual events began. So early alignment is very important in terms of organizing the workflow, etc. And in terms of organizing the interdisciplinary team collaborations is also important, because sometimes the business people and also the science and engineering side could be speaking different language in a sense. And so finding that mutual understandings, in terms of whether they're in technical or non-technical oriented teams, and the priorities is important as well. Another thing I'd like to add on is in terms of the process, because university process and industry process pretty much working differently, and the pace is different as well. So, in terms of, signing the MOU from the beginning, or getting, support funding, etc. So there are several elements involved, and I have two project assistants, and also, apart from that, I also have other team members that work with me that I mentioned earlier. I can go back to it afterwards. But I think the implication here in this part is about fostering structured team alignments, to make sure you have the common goals, clear task distributions, and cross-functional training as well. If you have the opportunity to work with the industry before, then if you some of the employees that would actually be involved in terms of becoming a speaker or being a mentor, But if they are technical in in a technical area, in a sense, it might be good for them to understand further about design thinking or even about business modeling for them to be able to mentor students or participants better. And another thing, from the experience is that looking at getting qualified participants within the time frame as well. Now we were quite tight during the time, with about 2 weeks, that we actually, put through sponsor ad and many things. And because everything is already set up in terms of the, supporting facilities and so forth, so we cannot actually shift that. So we really, push through the marketing. So if you have more timeline in terms of, extending the marketing timeline, then that will actually help to get higher engagement as well. And perhaps some pre-screening process, beforehand will also help to ensure that you get a diverse and skilled and high caliber participant pool in a sense. And one more thing that kind of arised, because we actually signed up MOU with the industry that they want 8 qualified team. Now there were times when some of the teams that we selected, there were personal issues and they actually withdraw. So it's important to have contingency plan as well in terms of and standby participant list as well, so then they can actually create backup talent pools in a sense. And before I talk about another 2 points, I think I see some questions right there from Riduf. What are the possibility of introducing unintentional bias during problem definitions? Right, very interesting right there. Any thoughts right here in the audience? Any thoughts, anyone? Anyone involved in hackathon as well? Rudolph, are you still here?
Yes, very much.
Yes, please. Thank you for the questions. Would you like to elaborate a little bit further or talk a little bit about unintentional
Spoke about
bias?
first example about the cochlear implants and using design thinking to improve the forms, etc. My thought at that time was that maybe did you define it in terms of cochlear implants and making it user, or you left it open so that people could look at solutions beyond that? Similarly, here in the case of the security, maybe Sinclair's got a particular way of working and they would look at solutions in that particular area, but maybe you need a blue sky thinking. So how do you define these problems, so that you are open to different thinking, something that is unique, because young people can think out of the box. I observed one hackathon at one of the engineering companies where they spoke about particular solutions and somebody had suggested a drone and they immediately shot it down thinking that a drone is inconvenient and other things, not realizing today drones are very small also. But I had seen that how they were programmed to think in a particular way and they shot down a solution which later on became a success. And do you select only one winner, or maybe you get the top 3 or 4 to work together on the next level of solutions?
Right. Before I say anything else, any thoughts? Any other thoughts here? Right. I mean, the way I see it is that with the previous program when you mentioned about the cochlear, actually yeah, and what we're looking at in terms of the problem definition here, it's more of the industry driven, and therefore they the industry have some sort of a problem that they like to solve, but however they like to utilize open to the public, or have the students and participants help to come on board and solve and define this problem. So the problem, although it's already it's just a starting point, but as the participants go through the design thinking process, they must interviews, for instance, the engineers or those that involved in trying to further the problem definition further. And same thing with the cochlear. During the time, we actually have a company which is who develop cochlear hearing aids as a partner amongst other partners like hospital and some other as well. So the student must work with the industry to come up with the a list of what could be a possible problem to solve from defining it through working through to solutions. So it's pretty much working with industry trying to define a problem in that sense. Yep. And yep, so thank you for sharing that, Rudolph. And so just coming back on the last 2 points in terms of time constraints, and as we're aware that with hackathon, the time constraint is exists. And so if we have a structured mentor that I mentioned earlier to test the solutions, and also extended consultation periods and including pre and post event mentorships could actually help to to foster or facilitate further learning as well. And lastly, in terms of scaling the AI solutions, I mean, I see some of the hackathons that I was involved as a judge at, there's so many great ideas floating, and eventually it doesn't really turn into actual product or service. And I think we really need to if we think about sustainability, then it's important to do follow-up events, discussions, or even on funding and potential grants, whether there are promising solutions that worth investing, etc., to really push it further. So in terms of the implications, if we're talking about theoretically, so this paper, so I look at problem-based learning in particular. So it's a non-traditional setting by using hackathon competition as a platform, Maria, like you mentioned, and in relation to AI and cybersecurity field in this case. So some of the key challenge and lesson learned that we discuss, and of course in the academic and industry collaboration. So it's not just industry or the academic alone. And a lot of the Western setting in the traditional pedagogy that we see, overseas, but this is the case where it's a Thai context, and so non-Western subjects and settings. In terms of theoretical contributions, of course, we're looking at student-centered experiential learning approach. So it's not just traditional lecture that we spoke before, and hopefully that based on discussions and also from the papers that we can actually suggest practical management and best practices for program managers, not just within Thailand, but also beyond. So I try to manage the time, giving the last 15 minutes so that we can have more time for discussions and questions as well. And whether there could be possible collaborations from anyone's from around the globe right here, because I know that this is a big network, global network from over 20 countries, I believe. Right, Maria? So I really look forward to further discussions here. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Onida. And let's open the floor for question. Let me maybe ask one to get started. So hackathon is usually, as you said, I mean, a very intense and very condensed process of ideation and development of business model. Now, I mean, usually for on creative processes, we always say that time is important. You need to sleep on it. You need to incubate these original ideas and so on. So what are the pros and the cons of trying to condense everything in a short period of time compared to, another approach that could be to, take whatever time, let's say a couple of weeks or a month to really, go through, the same process, but by maybe putting more time and efforts on it. So what are the pros and the cons, if you want, of a hackathon compared to another ideation technique, maybe?
Right. Before I say anything else, any other thoughts from anyone at all? I think there's some thoughts floating
There's
around
another
right here.
question. There's another question in the chat, but after you answer that one, so keep it in mind, please.
Okay, sure. So any other thoughts in between? Okay. I think what going back to what Vincent said first, and I think with hackathon, right? With when we talk about innovations, and I think there's a term called crisis-driven innovations. When things are actually in a short time frame, is actually push the people to actually come up with great ideas or creative ideas. During crisis, for instance, or when we're talking about, let's say, COVID innovations or some others. And I think hackathon, just going back to the point that I mentioned earlier when we're talking about the overview of the hackathon, is that the environment is really encourage innovations. That's one thing. And a lot of times, when we actually involve with multi stakeholders, but sometimes they can be sitting in isolations. Let's say business schools, and then you have engineering, and they never talk to each other, and then you have the science, etc., and working together with the industry. But I think it's a means, it's a tool to actually pull to people together in a short time frame. To really do something, and I believe we have the same vision, or same mission in a sense, solving real world problems, and it's a wicked problem we're talking about here, of course, and it cannot be solved by one parties. And I think having student center, but then you have other parties involved, to really help you on that goal. I think it's a bit like a Marvel or superheroes coming together in a short time frame trying to solve something, Vincent. I think so I think that's why it's been finding quite well in a sense. But of course, we understand with the short, with the shortfalls of that is because how is it going to go after that? I mean, like, how do we build a sustainable platform or ecosystem? In a sense, not just coming together, great ideas, and then it dies. All right. So I think it's really thinking further about that. Yeah,
Okay,
and then
thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, it does make sense. Yeah, the mobilization, getting the attention of everyone at the same time is usually always a challenge. So this might be a very good mechanism to do that. And if I may, let me just add a quick follow-up question. Now, does generative AI will become one of the partner of this hackathon, or has it already become one of the team members of this hackathon, or what does generative AI, what role does it play nowadays in how hackathon are run?
yeah, so because the company is actually a cybersecurity company, so and of course when we're talking about we don't just I think they don't just want like another chat GPT or something. And so but of course we know that tools like that exist. So the company is aware of it, and they're experiencing issues within the cybersecurity process that they run. So actually setting up the theme with the AI just one of the tools. And actually some of the problems that student was solving and the solution that they came up with, not everything was actually solved by AI. I can't review everything there, because it's actually the IP or intellectual property is with the company. But I think AI is just seen as one of the tools to really enable the business process in a sense. Yeah, and I think I'm just reading the questions right here from Kim. What would be your top 3 tips for practical success when running hackathon? I think going back to the challenge that I mentioned, I would pay a lot of attention. I think pre-activity is very important. It's like event management. And I mean, I'm an academics, even though I was involved with some of the hackathon as a judge, but running the events myself is actually very time consuming. A lot of administrative process and task involved. I think to make sure I think just the pre-events activities, and make sure that you have structured timeline, very important right there. Make sure that you have backup team as well, as I mentioned, for the getting qualified teams, in a sense, and also backup team for the team that you work with as well, because everything go quite quickly along the lines. And so I think that's another tip. And I think another one, I think having a clear criteria, working alongside with the industry, very important, because that's going to link with how the solutions is going to satisfy them eventually. Because if it's an industry driven, in a sense that you work with industry, not just doing academic research, then we spend a lot of time working with industry trying to come up with the criteria, which would involve innovativeness in terms of the solutions, and also the business model side, and also in terms of the presentation, etc. So I think alignment of the of the goals are also very important, as well as the alignments of the process, as I mentioned earlier, because with the academic process and some of the things are are still working like in a traditional sense. The industry, the pace of how the industry work and the academic is different. So we're trying to make sure that things will happen along the lines, the policies that they have as well. Even like one more thing, even marketing side, right? Like you can see the poster right here. I need to get approval from my university. I also need to get approval from like the industry. Are they all happy with it, or getting the design team together? So there's a lot of process involved, really. From every aspect, like operation team. So I have operation team, marketing team, and also the team that will work with the industry, the students, as a volunteer. So some of them, they actually, if they involve with the hackathon, they can actually get credit points for their activities as part of university as well. Or some of the students, they might work full time with us, and so that they actually get the part of the funding, etc. So it really depends on the roles here. So I think structure timeline, structure management, very important. Yep. And I'm just reading through the Julia. Yep, thank you, Kim. Very interesting point, just reflecting here, perhaps in some context, social technologies, for example, the understanding and better definition of the problems require more time. Absolutely. For an empathetic understanding of stakeholder needs and problems stated. Yes, absolutely. Like even like it's going, to the work going into the pre events activity. I, because I'm a business person and I spend a lot of time trying to understand what are these people talking about, like, and they were talking so technical to me, like the cybersecurity side. I talked to the head of the computer engineering, I got him on board, but he was like speaking quite technical terms, and so we're trying to find like the ground where, like, business people can understand, and promoting that to the public as well. So we try to keep the problem as generic as possible just to begin with. And then once the students are on board, then it's their job to actually go through the design thinking process and define the problem and then coming up with a solution and so forth. So yes. And not just the different discipline, but different language as well. Like I have to say, because we're running it from the international college, but when we open up to across Thailand, like not all of them speak English, I have to say. So there's Thai language as well, like with some of the clubs that we work with, etc. So there's a mix of language going on as well. But of course, we're trying to run it as an international scale, because we want to attract more participants abroad as well. What are the skills that member must have? How are teams formed in general? Yeah, so as I mentioned, right here you can see at least two different disciplines. So at least it could be so in the Mahidol University we have bachelor program in business, but then they're like creative tech, for instance. So we teach students about cybersecurity as well, so under computer engineering, etc. So it could be a students at least one technical, at least business side, and so that they can actually working together. And you can see that during the pitch, the business students are a lot of time doing the pitch because the technical, or those students that tend to be quite technical, they good behind their screens, but but that's why we actually run workshops, for them to try to practice going through a pitch deck. So how do they actually do a good pitch in front of the audience and in front of the judges as well. Yeah.
Wonderful. Any additional questions, people?
I wonder, actually, if I can throw to the audience, like, I wonder how many
Yeah.
here are involved in hackathons. I wonder, like, as a organizer, or, as a participant or advisor, mentors, etc.
Okay, so let's do it one by one. Let's say that everyone, we won't open a poll now, but everyone who has run a hackathon as a facilitator or organizer, write number 1. And if you did it as a participant, write 2. And if not at all, write 3. So 1 would be organizing, 2 would be taking part, and 3 would be not at all or hardly. Okay.
Right, interesting findings right here.
So you see that a lot of people have less experience.
Yes, indeed, actually. And so I think they might be interested in developing one perhaps in the future.
Of course, that's why we're here. Wonderful.
Yes, from I mean from other side of the university, when I mentioned that I involved with INT, which is Institute for Technology and Innovation Management as well. Sometimes, they actually have some case for students to solve, not necessarily in the form of hackathon sometimes, but it's like, for instance, a company like Dyson, have a case that wants students to help cracking, then they can actually do that online as well. I just want to open the floor. So I think the online collaboration is possible in a sense. And I know that we probably all around the globe right here. But I think there's an online hackathon as well. That those that I have seen, because they've been running it during COVID and actually cost less. I have not run one yet in that versions, but I heard that it was it was working as well, but then in another mode, and then actually cost less as well, of course, given the the online space.
Right. Okay, I think that's time. It's time to end this session. And thank you very much, Anita, for sharing your research and experience. I want to remind all of us that next week we will be speaking about open innovation. Avigdor Sharon, who is our third partner in planning this course, will be leading the session. And Anita will be sending me the slides so I can share it with everyone. So everyone have a great day, night, evening, wherever you are. And thank you again, Onida. It was our pleasure.
Yes, thank you for having me. And
thank you, Dr. Onida. Yep.
Stay in touch. Feel free to get connected with me via LinkedIn as well, just on the screen right here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.